Well, they did it again. If you're not already aware, the other night 343 had shadow dropped Halo 3 ODST on PC, and along with that came Season 3 and the updates to the shot registration in Halo 3. Now, you would think 343 might have learned their lesson after releasing Halo 3 early. But apparently that's not the case. Apparently they don't care about other people's schedules. They don't care that you made plans to play the game right at launch. It doesn't matter to them. They just release it early and say, go fuck yourself. That's pretty much it. It blows my mind that they did this again. You know, after 343 had removed the cop nameplate from MCC, I considered quitting Halo right then and there. But now I think I've had enough. They released Halo 3 on PC early. Not everybody was happy about that. But 343 doesn't care about everybody. They care about one side. Not everybody was happy when they removed the cop nameplate from the game. Honestly, most people wanted it to stay, from what I've seen. But 343 only cares about one side. And it's a problem. So, now, from here on out, I don't think I'm gonna be playing any more Halo. I think I'm done. Yeah, this, you can only make so many mistakes. And I mean, 343 is way over that limit. It's not okay anymore. It hasn't been for a long time. And I'm at the breaking point. I'm done. Alright, so now let's get serious. I have disregard everything I just fucking said. I have no idea what I was saying. Anyways, this shadow drop for ODST, to me, not a big deal. Not a big deal. You see, to my knowledge, 343 never gave us a time that ODST was going to come to PC. They never gave us a time. They said September 22nd, right? And it was almost not even a shadow drop, right? Because for me anyways, it came out at 11 p.m. Eastern. I mean, so 1 hour before the 22nd. And that's what they told us. It'll come out on the 22nd. They never gave us a time. I am aware on Steam, though, I think if you checked ODST on Steam, it did say like 10 Pacific or something like that. But I never seen 343 publicly say that or tweet it out or anything like that. I guess that was just like a placeholder on Steam. I don't know. But with Halo 3 PC 343, they were actively telling us that it's coming out July 14th at I think it was 10 Pacific. They gave us the time. They told us that time multiple times. Just hours before they shadow dropped the game, they were telling us July 14th, 10 Pacific. And people were making plans to play the game right when it launched. They gave us the time. Some people wanted to play it right when it launched. And they shadow dropped it early. And some people would have preferred that they stuck to the original time that they told us. But ODST, they never, to my knowledge, they never gave us a time. They just told us a day. And honestly, I kind of expected this after what they did with Halo 3. So this wasn't too much of a shocker. So this wasn't a big deal to me. But I will say, going forward, it would be nice if we were told a time that a game was coming out and they stuck to the time. I will say that. It is nice to know when things are happening, so, you know, like, so you can plan around it. Luckily for me, I did plan around a shadow drop for ODST. And you know, I don't know why it is so hard to understand why people would like to know the times things are happening. I mean, I would like to know the time of any event that's happening. Like, you know, like if you tell me there's a party on Saturday, I would like to know what time the party is, and I wouldn't be happy if they had the party a day early. You know what I mean? Like, you know, why is that so hard to understand that people would prefer they give us a time and stick to it? I don't understand. What? And you know what's happened recently that is just so funny to me is how a lot of people were upset with how Sony and Nvidia, and I believe Microsoft as well, how they handled pre-orders for the PS5, the Xbox, and the 30 series cards for NVIDIA. You know, a lot of people were complaining, oh, they're sold out. I didn't get the pre-order. I didn't know pre-orders were happening. You guys didn't tell us when they were happening. I seen a lot of talk about that. Ain't that funny? It's like people wanted to know the time that these things were happening. Weird. It's as if they weren't happy with the pre-order starting without giving a time as to when they were going to start in advance. And I already know what some of you are thinking. Oh, well, that's not the same thing at all. That's completely different. That's not the same thing at all. Because if the pre-orders sell out, then that means you can't get your console or your graphics card. But with Halo 3, if you didn't get to play it at launch, you could have still played it later. And you know, the people that think like that, the people who think I would have been mad about the ODST shadow drop just because I was mad about the Halo 3 shadow drop, y'all are the ones, like I said, that completely misinterpreted that video. You watched that video and you had no idea what you were watching. You couldn't comprehend it. I feel bad for you. I really do. Because it was a pretty straightforward video and some people just didn't get it. So some people say those two things are completely different, pre-ordering a console and playing Halo 3 at launch, but here's the thing that they have in common. People wanted to know the time that Halo 3 was launching. People wanted to know the time that the pre-orders were going on sale. People wanted to play Halo 3 at launch. People wanted to pre-order those consoles. These companies didn't tell them when the pre-orders were happening. 343 didn't tell us the actual time Halo 3 was launching. And guess what? Yeah, you can play Halo 3 later. You don't have to play it at launch. You can play it later. Well, guess what? You can get your PS5, your graphics card. You can get all that later too. You can get all that later as well. So like people will try to make it out that those two things are completely unrelatable. But they point to the most irrelevant shit. Like, oh no, that's not the same thing because that's a console and that's a game. Completely missing the point. Oh, what's the big deal about playing Halo 3 at launch? It's the same game. People plan to play games at launch. Maybe with their friends, like a launch party. Oh, Halo 3 is coming out at 2 p.m. tomorrow? Alright, cool, let's all get on at 2 p.m. I'm gonna go to sleep, right? So I'm well rested and we can all play when the game launches the next day, right? So you go to sleep and then it shadow drops. Your friends are still up. Oh shit, hey, let's play this game. And you're sleeping and all your buddies are playing it without you. Maybe they play through the night. You wake up the next day. They've already played. They're tired. They go to sleep. And it's like, oh, I missed it. Like, I'm not saying this is a huge deal. I'm not saying this is the end of the world. People are acting like I'm saying that. Like, oh my God, you're so privileged if you think this is a bad thing. I'm not saying this is such a big thing. Like, I'm not saying that at all. You guys inferred that from my video. But it's not true. So it really makes absolutely no sense how people can't comprehend that some people would be frustrated with the early release. I mean, it's so obvious why not everyone would be happy with it, but people just don't get it. So anyways, Halo 3, ODST, it shadow dropped. Technically, it only shadow dropped an hour early for me. It dropped 1 hour before the day they said it was going to come out. And they never had even given us a time. So definitely not the same thing as giving us a time, a date and a time, and then shadow dropping it like, what, 12 hours early? Something like that. So I wasn't upset that Halo 3 ODST released early. Some people were. I understand that. But I wasn't personally. And you know, like, I seen this with Halo 3's launch, and I seen it again before ODST dropped. There's people on Twitter tweeting out, asking, hey, when's ODST coming out? When's the update dropping? When was Halo 3 coming out? What time is it? What time is it dropping? People are asking this because some of them want to play it right at launch. They want to go live, stream it, and play with their buddies right when it comes out. Right? So they're preparing. They're tweeting, hey, what time's it coming out? I'm gonna go to sleep and I'm gonna make sure I'm up before that time, right? But they shadow drop it. And some people who wanted to play it at launch, they're not available to play it. They might be sleeping, they might be doing something else now. Again, not saying it's the end of the world, but it's a reason that some people would be frustrated. And I know for a fact that there were some people who were sleeping when Halo 3 dropped. They wanted to play Halo 3 right at launch, and they were planning to do that with the time 343 gave us, but they dropped it early. those people were sleeping or doing something else, and they didn't get to play it right at launch like they wanted to. And another reason that it's nice if 343 gives us the time and sticks to it for these releases is so we can look at the population numbers, see what the game hits. I mean, is that such a big deal knowing what the population got up to? No, I guess not, but it's nice to see. But when you tell us a game is going to release at one time and you release it at another, or you don't give us a time at all, then you're not actually hitting that peak population. And you could say, oh, they don't want to overload the servers or something like that. Come on, bro. We're talking about some old ass games. Like if there's a problem with overloading the servers for these really old games, then that's a whole separate problem. You're not going to have fucking 700,000 trying to play Halo 3 on PC right at launch. That's just not going to happen. And also, I do think it's kind of weird how the official Halo Twitter will tweet out, oh, Halo 3 is dropping tomorrow, or ODST is dropping tomorrow, just a couple hours before they shadow drop it. I do find that kind of fucking weird. It's as if you're deterring people from playing it that night. Oh yeah, it's coming out tomorrow, guys. Just moments before you shadow drop it. I don't, what? I don't really, that's just weird to me. I don't know. So yeah, that's how I felt about the Halo 3 ODST shadow drop. Wasn't a big deal to me, and I enjoyed playing it the other night. But before I go, there's one more thing that I want to address, and I'm not going to explain this again. If this is going to be one of those things, if you know, you know. But if you recall, in my Halo 3 rant video about them dropping the game early, I did make an analogy about a cruise, right? And if some of you might not know what the fuck I'm talking about, but if you've seen that video and my follow-up videos, then you know about the cruise analogy. And I'm not going to explain the analogy again. Like I said, I know many of you heard the analogy, but I'm sure there's some of you that aren't going to know what I'm talking about. I'm sorry. Anyways, obviously a lot of people were saying that's a bad analogy. Some people understood it, but there were many saying, oh, that's a terrible analogy. Not the same thing at all. It's such a bad analogy. And it wasn't. It was a proper analogy. It was fine. Could there have been a better analogy? Sure. I just thought that off the top and it worked. That analogy was fine. Listen, when I said the cruise line changed the boarding time to 12 hours earlier, I was implying that the departure time was earlier as well, right? I thought that was implied, right? I thought people could make that very simple connection. But apparently they couldn't. I was thinking too highly of people, apparently. I was saying, oh, the cruise line, they changed the boarding time and made it 12 hours earlier. Now that family going on the cruise, they have to rush to the terminal to board the ship. Well, why the fuck would they have to rush to the terminal if the departure time was the same? Why, if the departure time is the same, why would they have to rush to the terminal? Duh. You couldn't make that connection? Oh, the departure time must be earlier as well. And why would they change the boarding time to 12 hours earlier and have the departure time the same? So what? Somebody can board the ship right away and sit on it for 12 fucking hours before it leaves? What? How? That doesn't make any sense. That's what you thought I was saying? What? No, I said they changed the boarding time to 12 hours earlier. Now the family has to rush to the terminal to board the ship before it departs, implying that the ship was going to depart earlier. That's what I was saying. And I was saying because they changed that time and made it earlier, that was an inconvenience for the family, which leads them to be frustrated. Kind of like shadow dropping Halo 3 PC early was frustrating to people who wanted to play it right at launch. It was a proper analogy. But you had a lot of people saying, oh, well, if they made the boarding time earlier, well, then you just got more time to board the ship. Yeah, if they made it 12 hours earlier, you have an extra 12 hours to board the ship, because that totally makes sense, to extend the boarding time 12 hours and not have it depart early as well. Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah, let's just have people board the ship, sit on it for 12 fucking hours, for no fucking reason, and then depart at the same time. Yep, makes a ton of sense. That's the fact that that's how so many people comprehended that is incredibly sad. If I told you this, if I told you, you know, one time, let's say I was in high school, right? I said, one morning I was frustrated. I was pissed off because the school bus came, I don't know, 20 minutes early and I missed the bus. Would you people be saying, oh, well, why are you frustrated about that? It came 20 minutes early. That means you have 20 extra minutes to board the bus. You mean you wouldn't be able to make the connection that if the school bus came 20 minutes early, it probably departed early as well? Because that's how that works. A school bus, it's not going to come 20 minutes early and then sit at that bus stop for 20 fucking minutes. That doesn't even make any fucking sense. But with the cruise, when I said, oh, the boarding time is early, you guys thought that the depart time was the same as well. I mean, and even after I explained myself, people still had a problem with the analogy. It just makes absolutely no sense. I guess some people said, oh, well, if you miss the cruise ship, you don't board it, then you miss the cruise. You can't go on the cruise. But if you miss Halo 3 at launch, you can play it later. Well, you can always go on a cruise at another time as well. Just like Halo 3, you could have played it at another time. It was a fine analogy. But goddamn, man, like, I don't know how people weren't getting that. And, you know, some people would tell me, dude, you should let that analogy go. Just let that one go, man. No, I'm not going to let that go. It was a proper analogy. It worked. I mean, if you really want to look into it so much and you really want to pick out all the differences between the two, I mean, go right ahead. You just look like a moron doing it. But, you know, the principle was the same. I was implying that the departure time was changed and made earlier, as well as the boarding time, right? I thought people could make that very simple connection, but now going forward, I know that many people can't. Like, again, if a school bus comes to the bus stop early, you know, the boarding time to board, you know, the bus is early. That doesn't mean that the departure time is going to stay the same. If the school bus comes early, they board early, and it departs early. Again, that's enough about the cruising. I'm sorry. I people just didn't get it, and it blows my mind. And lastly, and I still get this today. People keep telling me, "Come on, man, just take the L. Just take the L. Take the L and move on. Take the L." How can I take the L when there's no L to take? When I backed up my argument, when I was like factually right about some of the things I said, like people were actually frustrated with the early release. Like that's a fact. That is a fact. But you know, the people that keep telling me take the L, they want me to accept defeat. You know, these are the people that need to take the L, right? They just partook in this mob mentality, hate train on that video. You know, these people, they saw all the dislikes on the video, they saw what people were saying in the comments, and they just joined right in like the little sheep they are. But they just can't handle that I won't accept defeat on this, that I want to come out and admit that I had a bad take, because I didn't have a bad take. They can't handle that their Lord and Savior, Griffin Gaming, put a video out about me and I completely dismantled it. And Griffin, he did eventually put out a response to my response, and I didn't even watch that whole video. I watched like, I don't know, like 5-10% of it or something like that. He said, you know, the parts I skipped to in the video, he was saying a lot of stupid shit. And I do remember in the beginning of that video, in the beginning of that video, I did hear him say something where he was accusing me of having watched his video before I reacted to it. Because in my initial video reacting to his, I was saying, I said that I hadn't seen the video yet. I was watching it for the first time as I was recording, which was the truth. But Griffin was like, oh no, you're going to see later on in the video, it'll prove that he watched my video before. I guess because I predicted that he was going to say something before he actually said it. Yeah, that's just because you're predictable. A lot of you guys are very predictable. You all say the same shit. So yeah, I did not watch that video before I recorded it. So the fact that so many people were saying that just confirms how brain dead some of these people are. Like, some of the shit you guys say, I know for a fact is wrong. You're actually wrong. All the people saying I watched the video before. you're actually wrong. I know that. I know that for a fact. So, yeah. But anyways, that's going to do it for this one, guys. That's how I felt about the Halo 3 ODST Shadow Drop. Wasn't a big deal to me. They never gave us a time, and they really only Shadow Dropped it an hour early. It was because it came out at 11 p.m. EST for me, and that's 1 hour before the 22nd. Going forward, I would love to know the dates and times things are happening, not just with video games, but with, anything. I think that's kind of normal. I think a lot of people could relate to that, but yeah. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you on the next one. And real quick, if you're watching this video right as I uploaded it, I am live right now, streaming on Twitch. The link to that is in the description. If you're watching this video like a day or even later than that, then I'm probably no longer live, or maybe I am, who knows. But yeah, if you're watching this right after I uploaded it, I am live, just in case any of you care. If not, then whatever, that's fine. Yeah, see you in the next one. Peace out, everybody.